Hey there, my name's Alex, and in this tablet tutorial, we're going to be talking about hours of service, and more specifically, keeping your logs, editing your logs, and sharing your logs. Two quick things before we get started. First is that we are an FMCSA approved or an FMCSA compliant ELD provider, and so that restricts us what we're legally allowed to let drivers do. So just keep that in mind. And second is at the end of your shift, it helps out a ton when you log out of your tablet because we launch updates constantly to the app and to the tablets. And so when we're launching these updates, the installs go really smoothly for everyone when the driver is logged out. With that out of the way, let's get started. We're going to talk about keeping your logs. First, we're going to go over layout. We're going to go over some exceptions. We're going to go over adding a co-driver and certifying your logs. So assuming that you're logged into your tablet and you're connected to the proper vehicle, go ahead and click on hours of service. So here's a screen you're going to see. We'll just go down the list, right? At the very top, it says off duty. And so if you wanted to update your status, first thing you could do is just click on that button and that would open up your options, whether you want to put yourself in sleeper or in on duty. And it'll switch to driving automatically when you start driving. Above 5 miles an hour, I believe, is the regulation. So that's what it is here. Also, don't forget to update your status when you are done driving and you stop. Then we have shift time remaining. So this is how many hours I have left in my shift. Then we have roadside inspection. So this is if you want to share your logs, and we'll cover that more in the share section. We have options. We'll cover that a little bit later on too. And then logs, that's just to view your current cycle, your 7 days plus today. So 8 days individually by day, and the graphs. So that's a little bit of the layout. Let's actually use the logs. And so for example, we're going to click on this top button that says off duty. We could obviously change it to sleeper. We could change it to on duty. And that's what we'll do. We'll put ourselves on duty. And we're going to type in, for example, we're loading right now. And then you hit save. And so in this hypothetical situation, let's say once you're loaded, you can just jump back into your truck and start driving. It'll automatically put you in driving mode, all while keeping a record of these events. But there you go. That's keeping the logs. It's one button right at the top. You can see your current status. You just click on your current status button to update it. All right, let's talk about exceptions. Many of our customers use us specifically because we offer these exceptions right on the device. So all you got to do, obviously click on hours of service, click on options, and then you'll see the button exception. That pulls up a list of exceptions that are available to trucking companies. Now, keep in mind, even though they're legally allowed, your fleet still has to make sure you qualify. So do your due diligence on whether or not you can run under these exceptions. But that being said, let's say we select the state of emergency exception, right? So you check that box, you type one word into this comment. Maybe you say emergency or something like that, and you type it in and you click OK. Now, what that does is when you go back to the screen, in your hours of service screen, when you go back there, you'll now see a purple bar that says what exception you are operating under. If that exception ends, then you can just click disable and it'll remove that exception. Next, let's talk about co-drivers. Obviously, there's team operations and there's training sometimes. So because there's only one tablet in one truck, it needs to be able to handle multiple logins. And so that's exactly what this does. It can handle 2 drivers right now. And so for example, how do you get there? Under hours of service, you click on options, you click on manage co-drivers, and that brings up the current driver and the co-driver. And since we don't have a co-driver and we'd like to add one, you just click the button, log on co-driver. And that automatically pops up a login screen. So this is where you would log in as a second driver. I'm going to type in Flint, our CEO. I'm going to type in his login. And once he's logged in, all it takes is to click that manage co-drivers button again. And you can see now I have myself, I'm the active driver, and Flint is the backup driver. And so all you have to do is click the button next to the driver, the backup driver, and you can make him active. That's all it takes. And now we are logged in as Flint on this one device. And now Flint could technically start driving if we were in a team operation together. Now keep in mind, at the conclusion of your trip or at the conclusion of your training with this co-driver, you want to make sure you log them out of your tablet. So how you do that is you click again, manage co-drivers, and you want to make sure your account is the active account. And then all you got to do is click log out co-driver and it'll remove the inactive driver from the tablet. So that's managing co-drivers. Next, let's talk about certifying your logs. Obviously, it's an FMCSA requirement for drivers to certify their logs at the end of their shift, right? At the end of their day. And so here's how you would do that. Under hours of service, you click on logs. And so you can see, right, the button all the way on the right, it says certify. You just click on that button. You get a little pop-up that says, I hereby certify my logs. You click agree on that button. And there you go, your log is now certified for that day. Now, let's say you want to uncertify that log. Well, you can see the button now says cancel, so you just click on that and you'll get a pop-up and it'll say, I want to uncertify these logs. You click uncertify now. All right, let's move on to editing your logs. This is going to be a bigger section, so get ready. And the first thing I'd like to say is we cannot edit your logs. We provide the platform that your fleet uses, but your fleet managers are the ones that can edit your logs. Now, you have to approve those edits, but just keep in mind, we absolutely in no way, shape, or form can edit your logs. So let's say there's an issue that occurs and you kept your record of duty status, so your logs, on paper instead of on the tablet, and you've now sent that paper log to your fleet manager and you requested, please update my logs to reflect that, they can do that. And you just have to approve those log edits. And so here's what this would look like. So normally your screen looks like this, and you can see in the top right, there's only one icon, the Bluetooth icon. Now, disregard that the fact that I'm not connected to my vehicle right now, that's okay, but normally this is what it looks like. Now, when you have a log edit to approve, you will have a second icon in the top right in the menu bar next to your Bluetooth icon. It looks like kind of like a message bubble or a message icon, but that's what it'll look like. And so when you click on that icon, it'll show the log edits that your fleet manager or your safety manager, whoever's in charge of this department, whoever made the edits, it'll show the edits that they made that you have to approve. Generally speaking, I do believe it's better if the fleet manager makes the log edits instead of the driver, just because drivers are under a lot of scrutiny by the DOT. You can click accept on this log edit and it'll take you to the screen that shows you the comparison. This was an off-duty event that I, as the admin, marked as sleeper berth. And so it's highlighting these two changes. And so as long as you click yes, these log edits will be put into your hours of service or into your record of duty status. Now, if you're thinking, Alex, fleet managers, they're really busy. They don't have time to edit my logs. That's a fair point. So let's go over how you would do this on your tablet. So obviously, hours of service, click on logs, click on the day that you want to edit, click on the graph, and that opens up the graph with the events. And so here you want to click the plus button down in the right-hand corner to add an event. In the pop-up, it gives you two options, add a remark or add a status. We want to click on add a status, and that gives us the next pop-up, which is now filling out all of the details of this new status that we're going to be adding. Normally, the ELD gathers all of this information, like the location, the odometer, or the time, and usually you just do the status and the annotations. Well, now you'll have to do all of this because you're creating this event manually. So if you do have an ELD malfunction and the requirement is to switch to paper logs for a short time, please be diligent and accurate with the information that you're going to be writing down on the paper logs, because it helps when you have to bring the logs from your paper back into the tablet when everything is back fixed and normal. But let's fill out this thing together. We're going to select our time, then we'll select our status, and in this example it's going to be on duty, and then we'll type in our location and our odometer. Make sure you're really diligent and accurate with this information because DOT is very strict here. Lastly, we'll add our annotation and reason. The annotation is just a custom comment, like a note that you're adding to this event, and the reason is a drop down, so select the option that best matches this log edit. Sometimes the on-screen keyboard hides the save button, so to get rid of it, you just click the back button on your tablet and it's gone. Now, once you hit save, you can see now my chart, my graph, it shows I have a whole bunch of on-duty time for this day. And so in this example, let's say you had a whole day's worth of logs on paper that you wanted to bring back into your tablet because you had a one-day issue, and so now it's fixed, right? So then you would have to go through and make all of the events, all of the things that you did. So all of your stopping, your driving, your on-duty, your off-duty, all of those events you would have to do by clicking the plus, typing it in, clicking the plus, typing it in, hitting save, so on and so forth. And that would have to go through until your log is representing what you wrote down on paper. Now, these steps were how you add events into your logbook. But what if you just want to edit an event that's already there? Here's the steps for that. So under logs, click on the day that has the event you'd like to update, and then click on the graph to access all of the events. Scroll down or find the event that you would like to update. Click on the little edit pencil that's all the way on the right of that event, and then you can update that event. And that's how you edit an event that already is there. Now, keep in mind, you cannot edit drive time that was logged while you were connected to the truck or while you were connected to the ELD. You can't edit that drive time. Lastly, let's cover sharing your logs. Obviously, the logs get automatically uploaded to the cloud for your fleet managers to review. Sometimes there's a delay because of cell reception. Maybe it's not so good or something like that. But generally speaking, all of your logs, all of your log edits get uploaded for your fleet managers to review in the cloud. Now, as for the FMCSA, Nothing gets uploaded to the FMCSA. That is not a requirement per the FMCSA guidelines for them to see all of the logs. That is not the case. However, that only happens when you are getting a roadside inspection. When you share those logs with the officer, that's the only time those 8 days would be on the Federal Motor Carrier Safety website for the officer to access, right? Okay, so how would you share the logs with the officer during a roadside inspection? Under hours of service, click on the button that says roadside inspection, and then you'll have two options to give your logs to the DOT officer. The first one would be just to click the button that says start review, and the officer can manually on the tablet review your logs. Generally, they don't do that anymore because they don't like to touch driver devices, and so most of the time they do the data transfer. So you click the button, the DOT officer will provide you the code, and it'll automatically get to the FMCSA servers, and then from there, that DOT officer can access those logs with the code that he just gave you. And how we protect drivers during a roadside inspection is when you click the back arrow to go back to hours of service, you have to type in your username and password again, specifically because if you were to hand the tablet over to the officer, we don't want them to type up some logs or make some edits and say, hey, you were in violation. So once the officer gives you back your tablet, you can just log back in and hopefully go about your day and pass the inspection with flying colors. And that brings us to the conclusion of this hours of service video. Thank you.